Let me make sure my microphone's right. Good morning, everybody. This is Grant Sparks from the Grant Sparks Show. This is episode 335, 336. And today we're going to be talking about how to have instant hopefulness, how to deliver instant hopefulness, the 4 traits of a leader. And this was a survey from, get this, 72,000 people across 52 countries, multiple cultures, and the summary results of what they find to be hopefulness in leadership, who's a leader, and how you can put this to work for yourself and your goals and your business and your family and your friends in a world that sometimes can be all over the place and feel a little chaotic. We're going to talk about this and more in today's episode of the Spark Show. Stick with me and make sure you grab a cup of warm coffee. We just had the time change, so forgive me for being a little delayed today, people. It's a little bit of a time difference here. It's still dark out, and so forgive me, but thanks for being here. One thing I'm absolutely grateful for, start with, if you don't mind, sharing what you're grateful for, because I believe if you can get into an authentic place of being in a state of gratitude, you can be receptive to what's going on in your world, with the universe, the positivity that the universe is bringing you, the opportunities available to you. I believe that that begins and ends with a heart of gratitude, grateful for what you currently have, and your eyes start looking for more of that thing. So let's start with that. I'll share with you what I'm grateful for. Let's talk about it. Massively grateful for a restful weekend. Had an awesome night out with Marissa and Nicole. We met a bunch of good friends while Marissa was in town, helping a friend. We ended up at Vasco. Bar Vasco is fantastic. If you're ever in the Central Florida area, please check out Bar Vasco. It's fantastic. Nicole and I met up with a bunch of gym friends. We had a great evening. And then, of course, there was a little bit of a recovery on Sunday, but a great day of recovery. But we're back. We had a great workout this morning. I am so happy and grateful and full of joy for that. What are you grateful for? Take time. If you're watching this now, if you're watching this later in the morning, later in the week, please just take a second to drop what you're grateful for so that I can hype you, because that's where everything starts. Let's talk about, though, what we're here to talk about, and that's how to be a better leader, but really what the rest of the world, 72,000 different respondents said, made up the attributes of a leader, who they said was the best leader in the world, and the elements of that bring hope to their lives. Let's talk about it. Real quick, markets are in the toilet. I don't have to tell you that. I don't talk about markets often, but in this show, I try to touch on them very briefly to inoculate you against the fear that they try to put in you from the markets. Real quick, the Dow has continued to slide. It's at 42,400. The first time I reported, it was a 45,900. The S&P 500 is at 5,700. Last time I reported, it was at 6,000. The NASDAQ's at 19,900, sliding. It was up at around 22,000. It's not there now. Continue to slide on the fear index across the world. The world's kind of panicking at what's going on at the government level. In DeFi, Bitcoin's at 81,000, down pretty hard from its original high of 101,000, or around its high. Ethereum's at 2,000. Last time I reported, it's at 2,700, sliding. XRP Ripple's down to $2.16. It got as high as $2.70. Cardano 74 cents. It was as high as 97 cents, over $1 at one point. Solana's down to 127. It was as high as 174. Obviously, the markets are freaking out. And obviously, the public, or the headlines, or the news articles, or the people in control, I won't call them leaders, not based on what we're talking about today, they want you to feel a little bit some kind of way, this way or that way, because if they can keep you jumping from feeling good to feeling bad to following the markets, you'll never really get your feet firmly planted on your own goals. And so I share the markets with you to inoculate you so that you are no longer affected by them, because you're going to hear that. And then we're going to talk about your vision. We're going to talk about your direction. That's what matters most. So without further delay, let's talk about what the rest of the world said made up a leader. In a Gallup poll, this Gallup poll was humongous. It was one of the largest. Good morning, Nicole. She's DMing over here. Jump on the show, Nicole. We're live. A huge Gallup poll found that hope was the #1 desired trait in a leader. And let's talk about what makes up hope, because this survey was humongous, one of the largest in the world, based on hopefulness, based on leadership. Boom. Based on what they expect out of the leaders, who they thought of as leaders. A lot of us, I was just talking to someone the other day and we said, I asked, I want you to lead a little bit more. And they said, don't you think I'm a leader? And I said, well, I mean, I love and care for you, but like, no, like, and here's why. And so I started exploring this more. Am I correct on this or am I wrong? I want to prove or disprove my own thinking because I always want to upgrade my thinking. And so I went deep into studying and I came across this survey. And here it is, 72,000 respondents, 52 countries. They said they were asked two questions. What leader has made the most positive influence in your life? What leader has made the most positive influence in your life? And then please list 3 to 4 words that best describe what this person contributes to your life. Now, I'm going to give you just about 10 or 20 seconds to comment in the comments. I see you viewers on Facebook, LinkedIn. I see you viewers on Instagram and Twitch. Let me know in the comments. Predict who they said was a leader that has most improved their life, most positively influenced their life, and list the top 3 to 4 words other than hope. You can't use that word. The top 3 or 4 words that best describe it. I'll give you a second to guess. To the question, what leader has the most positive influence in your life? They said far and away, some people will say it's this president. Some people will say it's been Obama, or they'll say it's past leaders like Gandhi or Mother Teresa. The answer unanimously of who had the most positive influence in their life, far and away, top performing answer, family members and business managers. That's you, the small business owner. That's you, the uncle, the aunt, the sister, the sibling, the son, the daughter. Family members and managers, not one named global leader had the most positive impact on their life. That is profound. That puts you in a very serious position to help the world. It's a huge, important place to be in someone's life. For you to be the source of leadership and positive impact in people's life is humongous. If you are a manager in a company, any company, if you are an entrepreneur and own your own business with employees, if you have a parent, have a sibling, have a spouse, have kids, you are making the most positive or negative impact in people's lives. This is humongous. You have to get your head around this. What are the 4 elements of the 3 or 4 elements, the words used to describe the impact these people made on their lives? I'll tell you. Number 1, hope. Over 57% of people polled said that hopefulness was the number 1 thing. This person, these family members, these managers didn't necessarily give them a bonus, didn't necessarily fix their problem. They just purveyed in the currency of hope. This is the most valuable social currency. Yes, you can have a powerful network. That's great. Yeah, you could offer someone opportunities and jobs. That's fantastic. But the most valuable commodity you can give in your interactions as a family member or an entrepreneur, based on 72,000 respondents, the largest poll ever, is the currency of hope. And do you know how easy that is to give people? Think about that. And if there are people around you who are experiencing frustration, loss, or hopelessness, you could stop all things and take a minute. And I'm going to show you in this very video how to give them hope. At the end of this video, I will show you how to give people hope. It's easy and it's free. You can give hope instantaneously. It's powerful. What else did they say? Out of 72,000 respondents, they said the other 3 factors were trust, compassion, and stability. And I'm going to show you how those interplay based on the response from this massive global survey. Massive global survey. And it has the best formula for giving people hope based on these 4 responses. It is It is far and away the best revelation you're going to get. Now, what they found was this. This is why this was so profound, because not only was this ooey gooey, feels good to have a poll like this, there were tangible financial benefits and a correlation to these results to suffering or the ending of suffering in someone's life. For those who said they had someone in their life, or actually flip this, for those who said they had no one in their life to give them hope or trust, stability, and compassion. For those who said that, they had a nearly 9%, almost 10%, 9% of them said they were living in abject suffering. They had no prospects. They had no hope themselves, but more importantly, they felt that they were absolutely suffering. Horrible number. Out of 72,000 respondents, almost 7,200 said that or of those who said that they had no one that they could look up to as a leader, someone who brought them hope, trust, stability, or compassion, they lived in abject suffering, over nearly 10%. Now, here's the best part of this. For those who said they just had hope, they didn't have trust, they didn't have stability, they didn't have compassion. But for those who said they had a leader, a family member, or a manager in their life that gave them hope, that number dropped by 30%. It went from 9% of suffering to 6% of suffering. It dropped dramatically. Of those who said they had a leader in their life, a family member or a manager who gave them hope and one other element like trust or compassion or stability or any of the above, that number dropped dramatically to 3% of suffering, which means that you can help people who are suffering and not fix their problem, but just give them hope and one other element, trust, stability, meaning trust, meaning you keep your word, compassion, meaning you'll suffer with them if they need help moving or if they just need to feel some kind of way, you feel that with them, compassion, or stability. You show up consistently in their life. You show up when you say you're going to show up. You be there for them just consistently, like a manager showing up every single day and showing up and asking them, how you doing? How you doing? If you can deliver those two things, you can drop suffering by over 50% in someone's life. Do you get that? You don't even have to fix their problem. They will be empowered to fix their own problem. But in this compassionless idea of meritocracy, live and let live, dog eat dog, you just have to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You are literally removing the very elements that could give them the psychological leverage to pull themselves up by their bootstraps, by lacking compassion, by not being stable or consistent in their life, by not even creating an element of trust necessarily or an element of hope. They just feel like they're at it on their own. There's something wrong out there today, and people are suffering. And what's wrong is not that there aren't the tools available, not that there aren't opportunities. You and I both know that the tools are there, the opportunities are there, but people are stuck here. And this survey was absolutely profound. Now, I want to do a quick exercise with you. I want you to think about leaders that are prominent in your mind. I don't care who they are. Pick a leader, not family members, not your managers. Just pick a leader and ask yourself, are they purveying fear or hope? Are they purveying trust or distrust? They're teaching you to distrust others, distrust your government, distrust your neighbor. What are they purveying? Are the leaders you're thinking about encouraging compassion? Nuanced understanding of what your neighbor's going through? Or alienation, us or them, my tribe, your tribe? Does that leader promote a stable view of the world or an unstable one? I present for your consideration. If someone that you consider a leader is purveying fear the world, fear your enemies, if they are creating distrust your neighbor, distrust the government, distrust that person that you used to trust. If they're purveying alienation, us or them, let's get rid of those. Let's block this. And if they're creating instability, the world's going to fall apart unless you trust me, they are not a leader. They're an abuser. They're a tyrant. Flip that. If someone gives you hope, the world can get better. If someone builds trust and exhibits trust, let's trust that person. Let's sow the seeds of trust. If they purvey compassion, hey, I know that this person's going through X, Y, and Z, and maybe we have to change the dynamics here, but let's first understand where they're coming from. If they purvey stability, we can build a stable future together. That is a leader. I say this that I want to give people rubrics because they're often fooled by who is a leader and who is not. You are a leader. You, as a manager, as a family member, if you bring hope and not fear, if you bring trust, not distrust, if you're encouraging the people around you to be trusting, be trustworthy, but also trust other people. If you purvey compassion and understanding, I get where you're coming from. I understand. Let me take time with that. Let me sit with that. Before I counter and try to make you understand me, let me sit with that. If you purvey stability, I will show up on time consistently for you. You are a leader, and you are delivering hope, and you are eliminating suffering by over 50%. But let me present for your consideration the opposite. If you are sharing notes of fear, I'm afraid, I'm not really sure what's going on. If you are sowing seeds of distrust, I don't know if we can trust this client. I don't know if we can trust this family member. I don't know if we can trust that neighbor. I don't know if you should trust that boy you're dating, that girl you're dating. If we teach them to alienate, hey, it's us or them. It's our gender versus their gender. It's our neighborhood versus their neighborhood, our state versus their state, our political party versus their political party. Alienation. And if you are creating instability, if you're not showing up on time, not keeping your word, being flaky, not being consistent, not answering the need, creating instability, you are doing the opposite of leading. You are tearing apart a person's ability to hope for tomorrow, and you're creating suffering. This is a huge mic drop. If you are not aware of it, I have to let you know. You need to sit with this. Because a lot of people consider themselves leaders because they have a title. They consider themselves leaders because people are subjected to them. You have subjects. Subjects are oppressed. They're with you for a variety of obligations, not loyalty. Unless you're leading. And then you don't have subjects. You have a team. You have compatriots who are moving towards a vision of tomorrow. Quick quote from this study. Among those who do not mention hope in relation to the leader they identified, 33% are classified as thriving, which is great, but 9% are classified as suffering. However, once the need for hope is met, thriving rises significantly to 38%, and suffering is reduced to nearly 3%. It's a huge difference. I already alluded to this. So how do we solve this? We recognize that if family members and managers are in a best position to lead us, that means they're in the best position to give us hope. That means they're in the best position to give us something to be hopeful of. That means you and me, not some far-flung leader, not some person in government, not some person of ancient yore like Gandhi or Martin Luther King Jr., or any of these people who we've considered dead leaders. None of them. You and me. Not Tony Robbins, not your local pastor, not some global world leader. You and me are best positioned to eliminate suffering and increase hope in other people's lives and to be a leader. So how do you get your head right? Real quick, and I'll let you get on about your day. Number one, do not miss me on this. The number one way to begin to turn the tide of hopefulness, eliminate suffering, and become the leader you think you want to become. Number one, make and keep promises to yourself. When you make a promise, you keep it. I'll tell you why in a second. I'm going to unpack this in a second. You have to, and this comes from 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Dr. Stephen Covey. You have to be able to make and keep promises to yourself, because that is the basis of whether or not someone opens the door, because we see your life. If you say you're going to be over here at a certain time and you don't, life got in control of things. If you say you're going to start that diet over there and don't, because life got away from me, something got in the way, we all see that. Consciously or unconsciously, even unconsciously, we notice. If you're overweight and obese, we see that. If your business is waning and not doing great, we all see this. This is evident. And more so now with social media. And that determines whether or not we move to the second step of earning trust with people. The first step is, can you make and keep promises to yourself? I'm going to travel. Are you going to go? Show me. If not, don't make the promise. That's okay if you don't make the promise. But if you make promises, keep them, because we are wanting to see momentum in other people. We are wanting to see a sign of life that we can trust you. So step one is make and keep promises to yourself. Step two is make and keep promises to others. This builds the leadership trait called trust. You first have to build trust with your following. If you tell your following on social media that you're going to post every Tuesday, even if it's crap, because your goal that you didn't promise is high quality necessarily, unless that's your shtick. You just promised to show up. This is why you have to show up, or you have to announce that you're changing tactics. But if you say something, you have to do it. Step one is keeping promises with yourself. That builds your trust with yourself, so that when you make a promise to others, you trust yourself to fulfill that promise. And that builds the leadership quality in others called trust. They begin trusting you. So when they see you keep promises to yourself, their door in their heart opens. They open the door in their heart to you. And then they watch for you to make and keep promises to them. That when you speak, you will deliver. It also builds compassion. The leadership trait called compassion. And why that is this. When you make and keep promises to yourself, and then you announce that you're going to make a promise to others, whether it's an audience like social media, whether it's your employees, like I'm going to send you on vacation, or something like that. We're going to pay out profits, something like that. Their heart is open because they care about that outcome. They want to see that profit share come to them. They want to take that vacation. Those families, your family wants to see you show up like you promise, because they also want the outcome. So if you fulfill that promise, they recognize you care about what I care about, compassion. You go through with me what I'm going through. If your kid has an athletic league and they're insecure about it, and you say, I'm going to show up on time and practice with you, and you show up, you're showing up compassion because they care about it, and they know consciously or unconsciously that you're making a sacrifice for that. And they might often express disgratitude or lack of gratitude, but they still see that you care about what they care about. You show up, you have a neighbor that's trying to move a couch, and you say, I'll be there for that, and you show up. That develops compassion, and compassion interplays with trust. These are two leadership traits, compassion and trust. So you get it. This is a foundation of what comes next. What comes next is step three is be consistent. You consistently show up. And I don't mean 51% of the time. That's distrust. 51% of the time, it's 50-50. It could go either way. I'm talking about 80-20 rule. You have to show up 80% of the time or more based on the commitments you make. If you show up 75% of the time, there's still too much distrust. Not compassion. You don't really align with the things I'm concerned about. But true leadership increases that number dramatically. Now, you want to be surrounded, if you're a leader and consider yourself a leader, you want to be surrounded by employees that also align with you. It's a two-way street. But you, if you consider yourself a leader, need to be showing up 80% of the time or more based on, and I believe it should be 100% personally. My standard for those around me is, if you say it, my expectation is 100% of the time you deliver. If you can't deliver, it's just as valuable to me if you say, I'm sorry, I can't make that, ahead of time, and you don't commit at all. And you are delivering 100% on your commitment, because in that case, you said you can't show up, but I don't expect you to. But I'd say most people have a cushion of about 80-20. I do not. If you're a friend and you say you're being a friend, I expect you to show up based on your commitment 100% of the time. If you commit to not, that's okay. I'm going to show up to the gym, Grant. 80% doesn't cut it with me. You're dropping the ball on your commitment. You said you were going to be here. Your commitment is 100%. But I think other people are a little more flexible on that. So you have trust built, you have compassion built, and you've been consistent. And now someone opens their heart to hopefulness. They want a picture of the future. So step 4 of leadership is delivering a positive picture of the future. Delivering a very clear well-shaped vision of specific SMART goals, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. By this date, we are going to deliver X, Y, and Z, and we will know if we would have delivered it. Now, if we miss that date, we will extend the deadline, but I am going to, because I have your trust, because I have made and kept promises to you. I have earned your compassion because I made and kept promises that matter to you, and I've kept those promises. Step 3, I was consistent in delivering in that. Step 4, let me paint a picture. Their heart is open to trusting you. And they a glimmer of hope of what could be. And they want to lean on that because they have been let down by nearly every other leader in their life until that point. Most people have been let down to the tune of 95% of the time or more. People are wounded. People are hurt. People are acting in distrust. They're acting in alienation. They're acting in lack. They just expect people to drop the ball. You expect yourself to drop the ball. Shame on you. Change the tune, my friend. Learn how to be someone who, when you say you'll do it, people know, oh, they'll be there. They said they would. They said they would. They're going to be on time. They're going to be early. They're going to have donuts and coffee too. Why? It shows that they were ready for this hours before. If you are showing up last minute, putting your outfit together, barely brushed your teeth, your hair's not done, your makeup's not done, it means you are giving them the last straw of your attention. You shouldn't have committed to that in the first place. But if you are showing up mentally ready, you are showing that you care. You're showing that you're there. And then when you sow a vision of the future, they will listen and follow. Because everyone else wants to be a trustworthy person, but they haven't been. Everyone else wants to know what it is to be compassionate, but their heart has been hardened. Everyone else wants to know what it is to be consistent, but they have allowed themselves to be dragged around. But you, as a leader, have exemplified what it is to be that. And they open their heart to your positive picture of a more positive future, and they will act in accordance because they just want to role model it. They just want to live in that for a while until they become that. Leadership is dramatically lacking from our world. Our world leaders are letting us down. Our family unit is letting us down. Our neighborhood is letting us down. And you and me have been letting people down in small, passive-aggressive ways. We're not mean-spirited. We're loving. We've been kind. We've done our best. But we can do better. We can be better. When people open their heart and believe that a positive vision of a more abundant future is possible, and they reflect on your promises, and they reflect on the moments of trust you built, and they reflect on the moments of compassion you exhibited, and they reflect on the consistency, they will give you hope, and they will call you a leader. If you have to demand someone call you a leader, you haven't earned it, and you therefore are not a leader. This is the only way to earn leadership. Now, you can earn oppressive power. Totally. You got a bigger gun, a bigger stick. You got bigger consequences for not following you. Sure. That's not leadership. That's power. That's oppression. But if you want to be a purist, a leader who has earned the right, you will follow this method. Why am I talking about this? I've already mentioned people are desperately trying to become better, trying to become leaders of themselves, trying to be able to make and keep promises to themselves, but they need an example. And that example is you and me. And they do not look, already the respondents to the survey showed most of the world is not looking to global leaders. They're looking to their family, their friends, their managers, their entrepreneurial leaders, their bosses, people closest to them, to exhibit the power of pure leadership. And it looks like someone who makes and keeps promises to themselves. If I said I'm going to get fit, I better get fit. If I told people I'm going to travel, I'm going to improve my life, I better show it. And then if I make a promise to them, they're looking for leaders who make and keep promises to them because they have been so let down. They're looking for leaders who are consistent because the world is full of so much inconsistency and unpredictability. And then they're looking for someone with a clear, exact vision of what could be. Not a general, that's going to get better. A clear vision of what we're going to work on together. The measure of success on how we're going to do that. And then we help them become leaders. This is available to you today. It's cheap, it's free, but it's the most powerful currency you could ever operate in. Listen, why am I talking about this? Because the world needs you. The world needs those who are alive. The world needs leaders. But no matter what you do today, remember the mission: igniting lives of explosive significance, starting with your own.